Today, we'll configure AWS to host the 2048 game. We'll be using a combo of S3, we'll be using CloudFront, Route 53, and K6 for performance testing. We can start with S3. That is our foundation. We can click here, open S3 console, and we'll need to create a bucket. So we'll use a general purpose one and the bucket name. This name needs to be a globally unique. So we'll try 2048 game 1, 2, 3, 4. This probably isn't taken yet. ACLs, that's disabled. And for this public access blocking, we need to uncheck this and then check knowledge, because we need to allow public access for this game to be hosted on S3 hosting. We don't need bucket versioning. Everything else here is fine. We can also disable this bucket key and we can create a bucket. Okay, so now we can proceed with the game files. You can click here on the upload. I already downloaded them, so I'll click add folder here. Go to downloads, click game folder, click upload, and it'll be, not even a megabyte. So 34 files total, and we'll click upload. It should be fairly quick because there's not much of the data. And after this is done, we can go scroll up, click close here. Okay, so we have our game files. Now what we need to do is we need to enable our website hosting. So click on the properties and then scroll down to this section. So static website hosting, you want to click on edit. We enable that. And for the index document, we'll write index.html, because that is the file that is the main file that we need to open in order to access the game, and click Save Changes. Now we have our bucket website endpoint. We want to copy that, but we can't yet access the game. What we need to do is scroll up, go to the Permissions tab. We have our public access blocking off. So what we need to do now is to edit a policy. And I have my policy here. And this GitHub gist, this will be linked down below in the description. So what we want to do is copy the first one. So this is the first policy we'll use. Paste it here and remove this bucket name and type in your bucket name. So I'll copy mine here, paste this, and that's it. So this policy basically allows everyone to get objects. So when we go to the website URL, we will be able to get the objects and therefore see the game. So that's all for now. We need to go to properties, scroll down, copy this link, we'll paste it here, and go /2048-master. We have a working game that's working fine. It's accessible. And why I wrote this path, why I added it, because when you go back to the Objects tab, you remember we set a property in the Properties tab, we set the index.html. So that is the file that S3 website hosting will be looking for when you invoke when you request the URL. So that URL will try to find index.html on this root of the bucket, right? And there's no index.html file here. So it would need to go to this folder or to this path, and then you'll be able to see index.html. So we need to add this path to our URL, and that's what we did before. And yeah, so we can see our game here. Okay. Now we can proceed with CloudFront. And as I already mentioned, this is a CDN service that will make our game files or static resources closer to our users worldwide. So it will be faster and also more secure later on. So we want to click on create a CloudFront distribution here. And for the origin, we need to copy the S3 hosting URL. So scroll down and point here, copy this, go back to the CloudFront distribution and paste it here. Okay. So we have an HTTP only, that's fine. The origin path, remember, we need to specify the path, so 2048-master. That's okay. The name of this origin, we can put just 2048 game as the name. Okay. Scroll down. We can redirect HTTP to HTTPS, so we don't have our game result if users are using this unsecure HTTP. Allow HTTP methods, that's fine. We only need get. Scroll down. This is all fine. For the WAF, we don't need that. So we'll not enable that. Price class, that's all fine. We can enable HTTP3. And for IPv6, doesn't really matter. You can turn it off or turn it on. I'll keep it as it is and I'll click create distribution. Okay. So this is now, we now created CloudFront distribution, but before we can access it, we need to wait until it's deployed. So we'll be looking at this here, and you will know that is ready once it turns to the date. We'll just wait. It took a few minutes, but now we can see the date and timestamp. So that means our CloudFront distribution is ready, and we can copy this domain name here, open a new tab, paste that, and we'll see our game. Okay. So this is working now. This is CloudFront distribution. And you can already see just by refreshing the page, it is quite faster than when we switch to the S3 website hosting. It takes a bit more to load. Okay, so now we have our S3 website hosting ready. We also have our CloudFront distribution. And now we can check with K6 from Grafana to just see the difference quickly between the response time of the S3 website hosting and CloudFront distribution. Now we'll switch to Grafana. This is Cloud Grafana. And go to the left here and select testing and synthetics. And then you want to click on performance. So once that loads, you can click on your default project, or if you have more, click the one you want. And we'll create a new test here. Scroll down a bit, start scripting, and we can go back in our chest here. And this is the load test script that we'll be using. So I'll paste it here, and just instead of this placeholder, I'll paste the S3 hosting URL first. So copy it from here, go back, and paste it. Okay, so we have our S3 hosting ready. So S3 website hosting, change the name, and we can create and run this. Okay. While that's loading, we'll go back to the default project and we'll create a new test again here, and we'll copy the same script, but we'll change the URL here to the CloudFront distribution. So that it'll be this link, and we'll copy it here. And just quickly to go over this script, what it's doing is we have our 10 virtual users, and they will constantly try to access the URL that is specified here for 30 seconds. And the load zone will be based in Frankfurt. And if we go back to the AWS console, you'll see that I created a bucket here in North Virginia. That's US East 1 region. So we'll be requesting the game files from the Frankfurt here in Germany. We request them from the bucket that is based in the US East 1 region. And then we'll also, with this test set, we'll request them from the CDN or our CloudFront distribution. They will have cached files that are closer to users, and we'll see faster loading times. So we'll go and name this CloudFront distribution. Okay. Then we'll create and run this. Okay. So we click here in the breadcrumbs, the default project. S3 website hosting test has finished. Click here and then click on this test run. And we'll be able to see the data about it. Okay. So we can see that 280 requests were made, and that P95, that's 95th percentile, meaning 95 of the requests took 120 milliseconds. And then 5 of the other ones were a bit larger, but we see the P95 response time is 120 milliseconds. And then we can compare that to the CloudFront distribution. We can see a significant improvement. So on the left, and with this blue color, that's S3 website hosting, and on the right with these dashes is the CloudFront distribution. And you can see there's been 20 more requests with CloudFront distribution, and we got a significantly less response time value, significantly lower than it is on the S3 website hosting. So it's an improvement, and that's what you want to achieve, and that's what CloudFront distribution is giving us. With that out of the way, we can go back to our bucket, and then we can go to the properties. And now what we want to do is we want to turn off the static website hosting on S3 bucket, and we'll leave only the CloudFront distribution up and running. So we want to go edit here, click disable. We'll save changes. And one more thing we need to do is we can block all public access here. And just click confirm. Okay. That's done. And now what we can do is we can update our bucket policy. And that is the second one here. Copy this. Look at it here, and I'll paste. Okay. And now what we need to do is we need to update this bucket in here. So that will be 2048 AIM 12334. And we need our CloudFront distribution. And we'll get that from this page, and you can see this is the ARN. So you want to copy that, go back and paste it here. Okay, that's it. So the only thing, or the two things that were changed from the previous policy is that the principal is now a specific service, so that's CloudFront, and then we added condition that specifies that source ARN, so the entity that is requesting those get object actions, that is getting those files from S3 bucket, needs to match with this specific ARN, our CloudFront distribution. So basically with this policy, we're saying only this specific CloudFront distribution can get the objects and no one else. So now we can go here and click Save Changes. And that's all. We have set our bucket And what we need to change now is we need to go to the CloudFront here. We need to go to the origins, click this origin, again, edit. And instead of this endpoint, we'll select S3 bucket REST API. The origin path will stay the same, and we'll click this origin access control settings. And we'll select our bucket here, and you can go save changes. Okay, so now that we did that, the state of our CloudFront distribution will change again to deploying. And now we again need to wait until the date and time are shown here. And that's how we know it's ready, and then we can test it again. Now our CloudFront distribution has been updated, and we can again go our CloudFront distribution, click refresh, and it's working fine. And if we go back to our S3 website hosting and refresh this page, we will get an error. And that's good, right? Because now we can access the game files and the game, therefore, only through the CloudFront distribution, right? So the next thing that we're going to do now is we want to attach a custom domain name to this CloudFront distribution. So we don't have to access this game by this random subdomain that is here, but we can access it by our custom domain that we'll set up shortly. So what we need to do is we need to go to the CloudFront distribution, and on this general tab here, click edit and scroll down a bit, and we want to add an alternate domain name. What you need to do here is you need to specify the domain name or a CNAME that you will use. CNAME is basically a subdomain record for our DNS settings. So right here is I'll host it on 2048.common.net. Okay. So this is the domain I previously added to my Route 53 host zone, and 2048 will be just a subdomain that will open the 2048 game. Okay. And what we need to do also is we need to select the custom SSL certificate, right? So we have none of these yet. So we need to create it. And I'll click on ACM or AWS Certificate Manager. That will open this page, and then click request. So I want to request a certificate that will be used to provide SSL or TLS certificate so we can access our game over the HTTPS. So I'll click next here, and we'll need to specify the domain name. So fully qualified domain name. And I'll specify my root domain first. So common.net. And we want to add another one, and that will be the asterisk.common.net, right? So, and this asterisk basically means I want this certificate to cover all of the subdomains that I'll have on this domain. The validation method is DNS, that's fine. RSA 2048, that's fine, and we can click on request. Okay. So we can close this, and we'll see our two domains here shortly. Not the two domains, but two records that we need to add. Okay. So we have our two records that we need to add to our DNS configuration on Route 53. So I can click just this button here, and we will create a records. Okay. So this will be panning validation. So as soon as those new DNS records are propagated through DNS, then we will have our status as green, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so we have our green status here, which says issued. Basically means the new certificate was created for our domain, and now we can go back to the CloudFront, and we can select our newest certificate. So we'll click the newest version here. That's fine. We can leave everything else as it is and click Save Changes. Okay. And once again, we'll change status to the deploying, and we need to wait until this is finished. So our CloudFront distribution has been updated, and you can see down here the new alternate domain name and our new custom SSL certificate that we'll use. Okay. So now what we can do is we can go back to the Round 53. We can open our hosted zone here, and we can create a new record. So we can now create our subdomain, so 2048.conlin.net. Okay, we can set a record type to A, and that is for IPv4 address. And we need to select this alias here, and then click on CloudFront distribution, and we need to choose our distribution here. And we need to add another record because remember we had our IPv6 enabled. So if you have it disabled, you don't have to do this, but I do. So we'll again type in 2048, click here for the record type, we'll choose 4As, that is the IPv6 record type, and we'll click alias again, click on endpoint, CloudFront distribution, and we'll select our distribution. Okay, so we can create records now, and this might take some time for these records to propagate, and we'll wait a couple of minutes and then we'll test it to see if this subdomain is working. A few minutes have now passed, and I can copy this subdomain, open a new tab, and open it. Okay. And yeah, that's it. We got our game on a custom domain. I guess that's it. That's it for today. So to recap quickly, we used our S3 bucket to host the game files. We also used CloudFront distribution to provide the caching layer to our game. We also updated the policy, so only this CloudFront distribution can access the game files. And then we also configure our custom subdomain for our game, so it's easier to type in and share with everyone. One more thing is to clean up all the services. And that would be all. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.